Jack in a moment. Just to say before we take this question, that you can follow us on Twitter, BBC Question Time. You can text us 83981 if you want to comment on this programme as it's going along. CFAX page 155 will tell you what others are saying. Push the red button if you're watching digitally. Email us if you would like to do that. Johnny Lyle, please.
Can the recent success of the BNP be explained by the misguided immigration policy of the government?
Jack Straw. Can the recent success of the BNP be explained by the misguided immigration policy of our government?
I don't think it can. We mentioned Enoch Powell earlier. He came out, as Saida said, and Chris did, remarked with this terrible speech about the rivers of being flowing with much blood, a 1968 speech. 1960, he was Minister of Health, and he launched a campaign to recruit Afro-Caribbean people from the West Indies to come to this country to fill vacancies in the National Health Service. I've actually seen the press notice. He went out there. And so it wasn't a Labour government responsible for immigration. Yeah,
but you've been in power now for nearly 12 years, so let's deal with the present, Jack Straw, and not go back to Enoch Powell. Let's deal with the question. Is the rise of the BNP, which has happened very recently, is that because of your government's policies? That's what Johnny Lyle is asking, so can you answer that?
The BNP is a transmogrification from the National Front, the National Party, the British Union of Fascists before this. As Chris has been pointing out, we've long had fringe parties on the right in British politics defining themselves against the other. Originally it was against the Jew, then it was against the Irish, then it was against the Afro-Caribbeans, now it happens to be against the Muslims. As far as immigration is concerned, my point is, we've had a long history of immigration in this country. I scarcely know anybody, certainly not, I'm not one of them, who can say they are true British or true English, because we've all got all kinds of mixtures inside myself.
Are you saying there is no worry about the scale of immigration in this country? Is that the point you're making? I can't get at what you're saying.
Of course there is a worry, but I also say to you, for example, as the latest figures show, there's been a net reduction in the increase in migration recently, though the outflow because of the downturn has been greater, and so we are seeking actively to control numbers better. So, for example, we've introduced the points-based system for work permits, and asylum numbers have come down to about a third of where they were. But on the issue of can we pull up the drawbridge and stop people coming to this country? Can we stop people who come from a different country, who are then British citizens, from marrying who they wish to choose from wherever it is in the world? Certainly not, because one of the great strengths of this country is its diversity. And for the future, although of course I understand this very acutely in my own constituency, where now 30% of the population are of Asian origin, that it can be very disturbing to people when they see change in front of their eyes, and we are dealing with that.
Sorry, can I try just one more time? Jack Straw,
dealing with that very well.
Can I just try one more time to get you to either answer the question no or yes, accept that the rise of the BNP, and the reason that Mr. Griffin is on this panel tonight is because of their success in the European Parliament, as you well know, and they got 2 seats in Europe. Is that because of failings by your government over the last 12 years to reassure people about the scale of immigration, or not?
I don't believe it is. I think if you want to know why, and I said that right at the beginning, David, if you want to know why the BNP won in the Northwest and in Yorkshire in June, it was a lot to do with discontent with all the political parties, particularly over the issue of expenses.
I think, Jack, there are certain things that mainstream political parties have to be honest about, and I think that answer is not an honest answer. There are a whole series... There are a whole series of issues which are affecting people who vote for the British National Party. I come from Dewsbury, where at the last general election we had the largest BNP vote anywhere in the country. I campaigned and I canvassed and I met many, many people who voted for the BNP. And there are real issues around poverty, around deprivation, around lack of social mobility and immigration. It is an issue. There are many people who feel that the pace of change in their communities has been too bad and that has been too fast, and that the government has not properly resourced those particular areas to respond to that change. Now, we can do one of 2 things. I'm not prepared to have the debate as the BNP would like to have the debate on immigration, which is all about black and brown people. This is not a race debate. This is a debate about resources. And the mainstream political parties have have a responsibility to take on this debate, to actually tackle the issues, the underlying issues that are making some people vote for the BNP. Because I've said this before, and I'll say it again. What the BNP are, their activists and their members, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Mr. Griffin has proved that by his evasive answers today. But there are many, many people out there who vote for the British National Party who are not racist. There is lots of statistical evidence to prove that. And therefore, what we have to do is we have to go out and say to those people, as mainstream political parties, we are prepared to listen, we are prepared to deal with this, and you do not have to turn to a racist, fascist party who have their own agenda to deliver their solutions on your concerns.
But what are you... What precisely are you prepared to do?
Well, there are a number of things that we have to do. First of all, I don't think people in this country say we don't want black and brown people. What they say is we need a cap on the number of people who are coming here. We need to know year by year how many people are going to be coming. We need to know year by year how many people are leaving. We need to know that those people who should not be here are removed properly. We need to know...
Who's saying do it?
Well, this is absolutely...
Just do it. You just lost 40,000 people in the system. Where are they?
Sir, I would say to you that the Conservative Party policy is very, very clear. We would have an annual cap, we would have an annual limit. We would look every year, we would speak to industry, we would look at our resources, we would look at our needs. But what we would not do, hold on a minute, what we would not do is pull up the drawbridge, because Britain should have the brightest and the best from around the world, and we should welcome them because they make a contribution to our society.
The man over there, I want to hear from... I'll come to you. The man up there with the moustache, then I'll come to you with the striped tie.
Wasn't it the Conservative Party that joined the EU that's allowing all the migrants from other countries coming in at the moment? So it was Conservatives doing, not the Labour's doing, wasn't it?
So the European Union immigration is what worries you. And you, sir, in the front here. I couldn't agree. Gentleman here.
I couldn't agree more with the lady on the panel. I'm sorry, I forgot
Saeed Abbas. Well, there are two ladies. Bonnie Greer.
This lady here. I remember Bonnie's name. But I think the problem is Labour has failed with immigration. People are disgruntled about that. There are all these reports that you read, things that people see in their own communities, and an easy way to vent your frustration and your anger is a cross in the box for the BNP. And a lot of people, I would imagine, that voted BNP did it out of frustration and anger and a feeling of what else can I do? And they're not racist people, I would imagine.
So Nick Griffin is nodding, saying that people voted for him not because they pursued his policies, but because they just were frustrated.
Sorry to say, Nick, but
in some cases, yes.
I would imagine that's the case, and I welcome the Conservative Party's policy on immigration.
Hold on a minute. Let's just hear some more points. The person in purple there, in the middle, yes.
I would say that I would answer no personally to the question. The reason being that everybody here knows that Nick Griffin's mission is to give the BNP more credibility and pull this sort of veneer of acceptability on top of the party. So he's gonna wrap his sort of slimy arms around any bandwagon going to give them a bit more credibility and make everybody nod their heads, even if it's sort of hollow.
And the person in the middle, the woman in the middle there?
Yes. Thank you. I agree with everything that Baroness Varsai said, but also as well I think the public who are voting for the BNP do need to be educated about what Nick stands for. He's basically a wolf in sheep's clothing, as he's demonstrated this evening. How does somebody who is non-racist and all these lies he's saying that's been said about him end up going to the Hitler, you were celebrating his birthday or something not too long ago? And also as well, going back to what the Baroness said, the parties must listen, because one of the things, I'm sitting here and every time Jack Straw somebody says Afro-Caribbean, I'm cringing.
Okay, sorry.
African Caribbean.
Okay, hold on. No, don't go. Christian.
Well, let me come back to the question, which was, has immigration and the failures of immigration policy helped the BNP? I think there have been undoubted failures of immigration policy. I think there's been some really shambolic delivery of immigration policy over the last few years. For example, our border control, which was a process begun, by the way, by the Conservative government and continued by Labour, our border control no longer is able to count people out. The result is we issue nearly 2 million visas every year to students and other people on short-term visas, and we don't know whether they've left. And that is absolutely unbelievable. And the first thing we need to do is to make sure we get back control over our borders. The other thing, I think the government, frankly, made an unbelievable